all sorts of other laws, including polygamy and concubinage, that over the centuries, the sages modified. The Talmud is the product of the Greco-Roman world, of the classical world. The Torah is a product of the ancient world. The ancient world didn't have the same sensitivities as developed as the classical world did. For the rest of the classical world, the Greco-Roman world, there was the Homeric value of heroes and pride of place. And when the classical world came into being, and the values didn't keep up, and there was no new text for this, Christianity is what came in to fill that void. It filled the void of the sensitivities of a new world. The Talmud filled that same void for the Jewish people, though it seems for the Jewish people exclusively. It brought their sensitivities up to a new age. Marriage has not always been the same. The Jewish people have not always been the same. Our continuity has not been a static continuity, but has been one of constant reinvention. 586 before the Common Era, Judaism as it existed up until that point came to an end. It was centered about the temple, the sacrificial cult that existed in the temple, the kingdom that was ruled there, the prophets that came and spoke to the Israelites. All of it comes to an end suddenly. The temple's destroyed, Jerusalem is in ruins, the king is taken away in chains, the people are brought into exile, and we reinvent ourselves. We create institutions like the Rabbi and the synagogue. And there is a reestablishment of the Second Temple for some centuries, and when it is destroyed in or about the year 70 of the Common Era, these institutions that were embryonic at first and then developed over the intervening centuries now become what Judaism will be. So if Abraham or Moses or David were to visit a synagogue today, they might not know exactly where they were. But if Ezra or Nehemiah did, or the Talmudic sages did, they might very well recognize exactly where they were. Were an observant Jew transported back in time to the days of the temple, they might reflect for a moment that they were in a hospital ward. People in white gowns, a lot of blood everywhere, and a lot of action and activity going on that they wouldn't necessarily associate with worship. So we are, in a sense, on different planes of this argument altogether, in the sense of the place of halakha, in the sense of it being developmental or not, or of Judaism being developmental altogether. New institutions have come into being in the Jewish people. Improvisations have been made. Even within the Orthodox community, there are things that develop and change as knowledge and reason did, though within the boundaries of this framework of divinely mandated halakha. Case in point would be that traditionally for a very long time, since time out of mind actually, a suicide was not accorded Jewish burial inside a Jewish cemetery. At a certain point, the great sage of his day, Rabbi Moses Feinstein, took a look at the concept of suicide and the concept that there is a pathology involved in suicide. And on the basis of this idea that a person is not really killing themselves willingly, generally speaking, when they kill themselves, for the most of cases, this was a pattern that changed, and suicides were then accorded burial in Jewish cemeteries by Orthodox rabbis from that time. It was a change that came about within the framework of halakha. I am not confident in any way that it's possible for this change to come about within that framework. I think that this is where Rabbi Greenberg and I probably differ the most. I don't see this progress as being made. If the couple came to me, I would tell them that this is not accepted by normative Judaism at the moment. It is not accepted by I shouldn't say normative Judaism. It's not accepted by Orthodox Judaism. It's not accepted in certain other circles. It is accepted within other movements. I would make sure that they have the same commitment that I'd like to make sure that any couple has. I would talk to them about their plans for the future, what their concepts are of adoption and having a family and having a Jewish home. I have never officiated at such a ceremony before, but I have composed ceremonies for other clergymen to officiate at such ceremonies, and I would probably do what we rabbis like to do, cut and paste. In terms of understanding the mystery of the love between the people before I can officiate at the ceremony, I don't understand the mystery of that love between a man and a woman. I don't understand the mystery of that love between myself and my wife. I don't need to understand those people to embrace them, to say that you're in, to open the doors wide and say, let's move forward, let's grow up, and What would you like to set the date for us?
I don't mind your rejection of Torah and of all of Judaism. It's perfectly all right with me, and you're welcome to join my congregation anytime. Because I think you need to tell things like they are. For instance, the suicide issue you raised, Rabbi Radler, and I want to get to the question rather than to this, but I think it needs correction. The suicide issue. There have always been two principles on halacha. One was a mavet atzma l'da'at, and one